What I want to share with you today is something most spiritual teachers won't tell you. You're tired of pretending everything is fine and then feeling guilty about being tired. You've been told that negative thoughts attract negative experiences. So you've been working overtime to monitor every feeling, every emotion, every fleeting moment of sadness or frustration. And somewhere along the way, you started to feel like you were failing at your own spiritual journey. If something here resonates quietly, you can acknowledge it later in your own way. What I've learned over decades of working with people is this: the pressure to maintain constant positivity is not spiritual growth. It's emotional performance. And like any performance, it eventually exhausts the performer. There is nothing wrong with you for feeling tired. There is nothing broken about experiencing the full spectrum of human emotion. What we've been taught to call negative emotions are not obstacles to manifestation. They are information. They are your inner wisdom trying to communicate something important. Let me tell you what happens when we try to force positivity. We create what I call an emotional split. Part of us genuinely wants to feel better, lighter, more aligned. But another part, often the part that holds our deeper truth, gets pushed underground. This underground part doesn't disappear. It just gets quieter, more subtle, and eventually more tired. You might recognize this feeling. You wake up and your first thought is to check your emotional temperature. Am I feeling positive enough today? You catch yourself having a worried thought and immediately try to correct it. You feel guilty for feeling sad, frustrated for feeling frustrated. You're not just dealing with the original emotion, you're dealing with the emotion about the emotion. This is what I call the exhaustion of spiritual perfectionism. And here's what most people don't understand. This kind of exhaustion actually blocks manifestation more than any so-called negative emotion ever could. When we're performing positivity, our energy becomes divided. Half of our life force goes toward feeling something authentic, and the other half goes toward managing and controlling that authentic feeling. The universe responds not to what we're trying to feel, but to what we're actually feeling, which is often this underlying tension and exhaustion. I've seen this so many times. Someone will come to me and say, Louise, I've been doing everything right. I meditate, I affirm, I visualize, but I feel more drained than when I started. And what I usually discover is that they've been treating their spiritual practice like a full-time job in emotional management. If you're choosing authenticity over performance today, write real. But here's the beautiful truth I want you to understand. You don't need to manage your emotions to be worthy of love, abundance, or peace. You need to learn to be with them. There's a profound difference between managing and being with. When we manage emotions, we're trying to control the outcome. When we're present with emotions, we're creating space for them to move through us naturally. Emotions, by their very nature, are temporary. The word emotion comes from the Latin movere, which means to move. Emotions are designed to move through us, not to be controlled by us. I remember a time in my own life when I was so committed to being positive that I couldn't even admit to myself when I was in pain. I would wake up anxious and immediately start affirming peace. I would feel lonely and instantly redirect my thoughts to gratitude. What I didn't realize was that my anxiety and loneliness were trying to tell me something important about my life and my choices. It wasn't until I learned to pause and actually listen to these feelings that they began to shift naturally. When I stopped fighting them, they stopped fighting back. When I stopped seeing them as obstacles, they became teachers. This shows up in your body in very specific ways. You might notice a heaviness in your chest, as if you're carrying something that doesn't quite belong to you. There might be tension in your jaw from clenching it when negative thoughts arise. Your shoulders might hold the weight of trying to lift your own mood all day long. There's often a feeling of hollow brightness, like you're shining a flashlight with dying batteries. The light is there, but it doesn't feel sustainable. You might find yourself more tired at the end of spiritual practices than you were at the beginning. This is your body's way of telling you that something is out of alignment. Your nervous system knows the difference between authentic peace and performed peace. When we're genuinely at ease, our breathing deepens naturally, our muscles soften, our heart rate slows. When we're performing ease, the body remains vigilant, waiting for the other shoe to drop. You can write, I allow my feelings. No explanation needed. Here's what I've come to understand about the shadow and the gift of this experience. The shadow is obvious. We become spiritually exhausted, disconnected from our authentic selves, and paradoxically more anxious about our anxiety. We start to judge not only our emotions, but our spiritual progress. We compare our inner reality to other people's outer appearance of calm and joy. But there's a profound gift hidden in this exhaustion. When we finally allow ourselves to feel tired of trying so hard, we open the door to authentic spiritual growth. The exhaustion itself becomes our teacher. It shows us where we've been forcing, where we've been pushing, where we've been trying to control outcomes that are not ours to control. The gift is learning the difference between spiritual practice and spiritual performance. True spiritual practice includes everything: the joy and the sorrow, the peace and the frustration, the clarity and the confusion. It's not about achieving a permanent state of positivity. It's about developing a loving relationship with all of our states. When we stop trying to fix ourselves, we can start to know ourselves. When we stop managing our experience, we can start to receive it. This is where real transformation happens, not in the elimination of difficult emotions, but in our capacity to hold them with love. And this is the part most people misunderstand. Manifestation works not because we've eliminated all negative thoughts, but because we've learned to be present with our whole experience. When we're not spending energy fighting ourselves, that energy becomes available for creating what we truly want. So how do we shift from emotional performance to emotional authenticity? How do we move from the exhaustion of trying to be positive to the peace of being present? First, start each morning with what I call an emotional inventory. Instead of immediately trying to feel better, simply notice what's actually there. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now without trying to change it? Write down whatever comes up without editing or judging. Second, practice the phrase, "This feeling is welcome here." When sadness arises, instead of pushing it away, try saying, "Sadness, you are welcome here." When anxiety comes, "Anxiety, you are welcome here." You're not trying to keep these feelings forever, just acknowledging their right to exist. Third, develop what I call conscious feeling breaks throughout your day. Set gentle alarms every few hours and ask yourself, what does my body need right now? What does my heart need right now? Sometimes the answer will be rest. Sometimes it will be movement. Sometimes it will be tears. Fourth, reframe your understanding of spiritual practice. Instead of, I need to feel positive, try, I'm learning to feel everything with love. Instead of, I shouldn't feel this way, try, this feeling has something to teach me. Fifth, create space for authentic expression. This might be dancing your frustration, crying your grief, laughing your joy, or simply breathing your overwhelm. Let your body show you how feelings want to move through you. Sixth, practice the art of emotional witnessing. When a difficult feeling arises, try placing your hand on your heart and saying, I see you, I feel you, and I'm here with you. You're not trying to fix or change, just to be present. Seventh, end each day with what I call a reality gratitude practice. Instead of forcing gratitude for things you don't actually feel grateful for, find 3 small, authentic appreciations. Maybe it's the taste of water, the feeling of your pillow, or simply the fact that you made it through the day. As you try this, you might choose one word to anchor the experience. Let this be about noticing, not changing. What I want you to understand is this: you are not broken and you do not need to be fixed. The very tiredness you feel from trying to be positive is actually your wisdom calling you home to yourself. Your authentic emotions, even the uncomfortable ones, are not mistakes. They are part of your guidance system. When you stop exhausting yourself trying to feel differently, you create space for genuine transformation. When you stop performing positivity, you make room for authentic joy. When you stop managing your spiritual experience, you can start receiving it. I am not asking you to wallow in difficult emotions or to make them your identity. I am inviting you to include them in your understanding of what it means to be a whole, integrated human being on a spiritual path. Your spiritual journey is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more authentically yourself. And your authentic self includes the full range of human experience, not just the parts that look good on social media or fit into spiritual sound bites. You are allowed to feel tired. You are allowed to feel confused. You are allowed to have days when your spiritual practice feels flat or your meditations feel empty. These are not signs that you're failing. They are signs that you're human. There is a deep rest available to you when you stop trying to be other than what you are in this moment. There is profound peace in letting your experience be your experience without the added layer of judgment about whether it's spiritual enough, positive enough, or evolved enough. Trust that your emotions, all of them, are part of your path home to yourself. Trust that authenticity is more powerful than performance. Trust that the universe can handle the full truth of who you are, not just the edited version. If nothing dramatic happened, but something softened, soft belongs here. You don't need to be positive to be spiritual. You need to be present. You don't need to eliminate difficult emotions to manifest what you desire. You need to learn to hold your whole experience with love. This is the real spiritual practice, not the management of experience, but the loving embrace of whatever arises, not the performance of enlightenment, but the authentic journey of becoming. Your tiredness is not a failure, it's information. Your exhaustion is not a problem, it's a doorway. And on the other side of this doorway is a way of being that includes everything and excludes nothing, a way of being that is both deeply human and profoundly spiritual. You are already whole. You are already worthy. You are already enough, exactly as you are in this moment. This content is for educational and spiritual reflection purposes only. It is not a substitute for medical, psychological, legal, or financial advice.